With that, I want to go ahead and welcome Rick and Brennan to take the floor and take it away, gentlemen.
Awesome. Hey, thanks everyone. Thanks everyone out in Facebook Live land. We have a small studio audience in here of employees. So I'm going to filibuster for 30 seconds while someone confirms to me that they can hear us. We all good on audio? Paul's just staring at me. Okay, awesome. So I'm Rick Wilson, CEO of Miva. This is Brennan Heyde. And we are going to walk through a number of things. This is the second time we've done a Miva Town Hall. Our intention is to do these biannually. And so we're going to walk through really what's on the near-term and mid-term agenda for the company and exciting things for our clients. And so let's jump right in. Coming soon is Miva 9.8. Miva 9.8 is an incremental update to the 9.x series. It's the reason it's 9.8 versus 9.7 something is because of PCI rules about numbering when you do payment changes. So we've added a bunch of bug fixes and features in the payment gateway space. And so therefore it's going to be 9.8, and it will be shipping pre-MivaCon, but sometime in the next 4 to 8 weeks. And so let's jump in and talk through what's in 9.8. So if you're a current Miva customer, as you likely know, when we shipped 9.7, when did we ship 9.7? Do you have any sense of time anymore?
It's been a few months.
Yeah, it's been more than that. Like summer, right?
I think it was fall.
August, okay. So 9.7 shipped 6 months-ish ago, and one of the big new feature sets in 9.7 was native facets. Facets are always a tricky situation. A lot of platforms, if they even support facets out of the box, they limit them severely. Either to 100 total facet options, sometimes 300. What they generally don't do is provide a full-featured, deep catalog faceting solution. And normally the requirement is you have to go pay a third-party service to achieve that. And so we knew that one of our strengths for our customers is handling complex product sets, complex data sets, and large databases. And so we wanted to have that as a native feature. So we got facets out the door 6 months ago that weren't limited. But one of the things that really found out is that facets are a stepping stone to other applications of them. And so one of those applications is combination facets or parts finder. So I'll let Brennan kind of talk through how this is going to work.
Yeah, so we have a lot of customers who sell auto parts or something where there's a year, make, model combination of facets. And so we built on top of our core facets what we're calling combination facets. And essentially it's a year, make, model lookup tool that's very flexible. So it's not just year, make, model. It's a combination of any multiple facets. So it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 5. It could be brand, manufacturer, model. You know, it's incredibly flexible. And the way it works is you can import the data. So you have a delimited list of that data. And when Miva imports it, it will automatically split those individual year, make, model combinations up and inserts them as their own database entries. So when you're looking at it in the admin, it's nice and organized. It's very easy to use. And then we added some robust functionality on top of that where if you select year, make, and model, you have the choice to save those values as a cookie. And so then everywhere that customer navigates around the site, it's going to limit the products that they're showing to that year, make, and model. So that's an option for people who want to do it, but that is pretty popular for when you're doing year, make, and model stuff. So it's very powerful, very flexible, and we're excited to see that in the hands of customers.
Yeah, no, and I know our customers are excited for that
yeah,
too.
For sure.
Another feature that's in 9.8, this is a small feature, but this is a good chance to sort of talk about our subscription feature again. So we're adding subscription reminder emails. This seems pretty easy, not a big deal of a feature. Our subscription system is really robust, out of the box natively in e-commerce platforms. I haven't seen anything like it. And we have customers processing, our largest customers got over 10,000 subscriptions a month on it, right?
Yep.
So we have people processing, hundreds of thousands of total subscriptions a year, and it works with MivaPay for secure payment processing in a way that you don't have to worry about credit card numbers being taken or hacked. And that part's been seamless, and we're now in the refinement stage. So the refinement stage is work closely with clients, find out what their pain points are, tweak, rinse, wash, repeat, if you will. And so if you're using our subscription features and there's something you want, it's a great time to talk to Brennan and I. And if you're not yet leveraging the power of subscriptions, subscription e-commerce is a huge business that's going to continue to boom. It is not a fad-style business. Depends on the product you're selling. I don't know that a subscription to puppies would be a great move, but certainly anything consumable, anything your clients repeatedly buy, subscriptions are an excellent way to leverage your e-commerce business in ways that really couldn't be done in the proper brick and mortar world. So 2 more features in 9.8 are multi-value facets, which I'll let Brennan explain, as well as adding count, which is anti-fraud support to the Braintree module. Do you want to touch those?
Yeah, so multi-value facets, it's essentially a custom field. Right now, every custom field can store a single value. So whether it's a brand or manufacturer, a multi-value facet is that custom field can store a comma separated list of values, and we'll automatically split those up and enable individual facets on those. So an example would be, say you had color that wasn't an attribute, but it's just you're describing the product, you want to be able to facet on that. You can have a custom field for color, and you do a comma separated list of those values, and Miva will automatically split those up into individual facets, which is great. The next piece in 9.8 is the count support in Braintree. So count is a very robust fraud platform. They do fraud scoring and fraud detection. Braintree has a integration with them, and because we have a solid integration with Braintree, we're now adding count support. So what that really means is we pass a device ID for every single user, and that gets passed to Braintree and over to Count, and they use that to see, is this one device using more than one credit card? And so based off that and a bunch of other factors, they're able to score the order, and you can set up a bunch of rules. And so there's 2 versions of it. There's Count Standard, which is kind of built in, the fraud rules are already set up for you. And then there's Count Custom, which you get your own Count account, and then you can configure your own fraud rules, and that has an additional fee associated with it. But it's very powerful, so for customers using Braintree and want another layer of fraud protection on top of it, it's just going to work out of the box with Miva.
That's awesome. I think the first time Count came to my awareness 7 or 8 years ago, and at the time they were pretty much only for the Internet Retailer 500.
Yeah.
So it's great to see that this tech's going through the whole process of hitting all the merchants. The other big feature in 9.8 is we're introducing a new partner, which we've referenced before. So this isn't a brand new announcement as far as that, but we are finally releasing our Square integration. And there's a number of things I want to talk to on that. Most people know Square as the little white dongle on the iPad or your phone, or now the little reader for your chip cards. The fact of the matter is Square is also a tier 1 payment gateway on par with PayPal, Braintree, Auth.net, Chase. And if you've followed Miva for any period of time, you realize that we're very careful about what payment gateways we introduce. We're 20 years old. We're going on 21 this year. We can start drinking. And so we have been through the process in the market before of having tons of payment gateways, and then the pain of having to get rid of them because either no one's using them, their APIs are outdated, or they go out of business. So we're super careful about which gateways we add. And when we add a gateway, from our perspective, that is a commitment on our part that not only is this product around for the long haul, but this is a product we're giving our stamp of approval to. Not that Square needs our approval, but certainly it's a great product. And we're very excited to add them to the list of people we officially support. They also allow for, because of what they do beyond being a payment gateway, they allow for some really unique feature integrations. Most of these will be coming in the second iteration of the module, but I'm going to let Brennan talk through some of that.
Yeah, so the way we're building this, it's 2 phases. So the first phase, that's going to be part of 9.8, is just a payment gateway. So it's a full-fledged payment gateway, all the stuff you'd expect in Miva, auth, void, capture, refund right from the admin. It's a hosted iframe, so you get the full PCI compliance that you'd get from, like, example, Miva Pay or Braintree or any other hosted iframes. And that's the first phase. And the second phase is we're integrating with their products and inventory, so you can use it with their point-of-sale system. And so what that really means is you can take your Miva products and you can import them into Square, and then you can sync inventory from Miva to Square. And so if you're using Square at a retail location, your inventory is now in sync. And so you now have this offline, online inventory sync all through the integration. And so Square, their dashboard, then becomes that central hub where you can see your offline transactions, you can see your online transactions, do all your reporting, and they have a really robust dashboard. I've seen a lot of gateway dashboards, and theirs is easy to use, a lot of strong reporting. But in addition to all that, since the data all lives in that central hub, they have third-party applications that you could turn on. So integration with QuickBooks, QuickBooks Online, Xero, a bunch of accounting stuff that you'll get for free by using their point-of-sale system and the integration with Miva.
So their app store, basically.
Yeah, their app store. So a lot of real exciting stuff that you get using Square.
Are they coming to MivaCon?
I believe so.
That is good. You guys should all be coming to MivaCon, but we'll come back to MivaCon. All right, this one, just a couple quick updates since this stuff's behind the scenes, and this is one of those beautiful things that you would never know we did it, but we did it. So over the last 6 months, we've upgraded all of our blades. I think we, David's gonna fry me for having the wrong data, but I'm pretty sure we doubled our CPU and doubled our memory across the board. The beauty of it is with any cloud-based VMware architecture, we do it all while your sites are live and you don't notice a thing. You push some buttons, we unplug one, we plug it in. In addition, we've also fired up a new high availability data center in Las Vegas at Switch. And so, it's just ongoing improvements to our behind the scenes cloud infrastructure. And this isn't the kind of thing you normally talk about. So give it 30 seconds during our town hall. And let's go back to sexy things. Let's talk about ReadyThemes. So ReadyThemes have been really a game changer from a site design standpoint. It wasn't that long ago where regardless of platform you were using, you basically started with either empty tables or just an empty CSS site and built the look and feel of your site from scratch. Over the last, I'd say 3 years in the marketplace, what you've seen is themes really coming front and center for all e-commerce platforms as a starting point and a jumping off place. I think the mobile revolution really sparked that. Pre-mobile revolution, people didn't necessarily update their sites as much. Nowadays, if you have a properly mobilely optimized site, we routinely see mobile sales being the majority of sales, especially on if you're B2C or high traffic, that's really common. So if you're still not running a mobile site and you sell to consumers, you're leaving money on the table. But we can come back to that another time. But I'm going to let Brennan talk through really where we're going with ReadyThemes. Elements, do we call this one a ReadyTheme?
It's more of a framework.
So Elements is really a framework. So Elements is the first of our 2.0 ReadyThemes frameworks. It is designed to be the plumbing on which we're building all of the go-forward frameworks, or all the go-forward ReadyThemes. And we have multiple ReadyThemes coming out this year. Do you want to say anything about Elements before I jump to the next one?
Yeah, I mean, let me give some context to it. So in the past, we had 10 or 15 different ReadyThemes, and they were built, some were based off Bootstrap, some were based off a internal responsive framework that we had, and they're built by different teams, and there's a little bit of disjointedness between them. So you have certain features on some and not others. And so when we were talking about what we want to do moving forward, we said let's take a step back and let's standardize the foundation that all ReadyThemes are built on. And that's how Elements was born. And it's a new HTML and CSS foundation. It introduces the concept of extensions, where you kind of plug in playable functionality between different themes. And it leverages our built-in CSS and JavaScript asset management that's part of 9.7, built-in support for Flexbox. So it's a really powerful foundation that we're using then to build all the new stuff on.
Okay, so let's talk about the first ReadyTheme that's going to be based on Elements, which will be shipping very soon.
Yeah, so it's called Shadows. This is, again, it's kind of a developer framework, but so Elements really is a raw framework with all the foundational stuff built. Shadows is built on top of Elements with a lot of design decisions already made for you. So it's got a very customized checkout process. All the My Account pages are done. It's prettier, and it's laid out a little bit nicer. And its intention is to use as a foundation to build your site. But it's still, you'll look at it, it's still gray boxes that you're swapping images out, but it has all the built-in functionality that we support at the box.
Got it. And this one is shipping when?
It's in the final stages of QA. I want to say it's probably likely a couple weeks out.
Okay. And then the next one after that is Colossus. Talk to us about Colossus.
Yeah, so Colossus, you may have seen this. We talked about this at the last conference. This is really going to be the showcase theme that's going to showcase the new facets, the new search preview, all the new functionality that we have for large data sets. This is focused on coffee.
Thus the name Colossus.
Yeah. But this really will be kind of the first customer focused, when the other two are kind of developer oriented. This is really, hey, here's the a customer focused, really powerful Ready theme that you can take and swap out a few images and just run with it.
And when will this one ship?
We're hoping by the conference.
Okay, so this one's aimed square at MivaCon.
It's square at MivaCon, and it'll be somewhere around there.
You guys are excited that MivaCon's late this year. Okay, so let's talk about what else is coming later this year for ReadyThemes.
Yeah, so we want to do a B2B focused theme. We get a lot of customers that come to Miva for our powerful B2B features. Miva handles those really well. And we were seeing the customers that we're working with, we were building not custom features, but tweaking the existing themes to better support a B2B sales process. And so we're going to take all that information that we've gotten, and we're going to do a B2B specific theme that we'll release. And then we're going to, all the existing Ready themes, we're going to update. So we're going to update them to the latest templates. Some of them will get end of life over the long term, and then we'll take like the really popular ones like Levels and Savant, and we'll do a version 2 of them. So
that's built on Elements.
That's built on Elements. And so over the next 12 to 18 months, all the existing Ready themes will be rebuilt on the new Elements foundation.
Got it. And this next slide, mostly you'll cover, but I want to say a couple words before we jump into this. 10 and a half years ago, when Miva came back under our tutelage, one of the complaints about the company is we didn't have enough documentation. Well, now we have more documentation and videos than, not that we can't always document more, but we have so much documentation, so much videos, thousands of pages of documentation, hundreds and hundreds of videos. The biggest complaint is no longer that there's no instructions on how to do it. The biggest complaint is it's like walking into a library and say, what am I going to read today? So, so with that, we've decided to tackle really coursed style education to make it easier to succeed in e-commerce. So,
yeah, and we've had educational materials in terms of, this is probably our third iteration of a kind of a developer-focused training, and it's really focused for new developers who are trying to learn and build on the Miva platform. And so we took a slightly different approach where it's course-based, and so we have a whole learning management system that we're incorporating to this, and you'll go and you'll go through the course, and you can get a certification for a developer, and then we have almost like electives or extensions that are a little bit smaller on specific functionality that we'll launch with a bunch, and then we'll continue to add those. And so you can get essentially like a level 1 developer certification and then kind of a professional level certification once you go through all those courses. So we're real excited about that. And then in addition to all developer certification, we'll have agency certifications. So as an agency, as a design development agency, if you have a certain number of Miva certified developers and you prove core competency in being able to build on the Miva platform, you can get an agency certification and be listed on our website. So a lot of really cool things coming related to Miva Learn.
When do we expect to see the first of this stuff?
It's going to launch at MivaCon.
Oh, all right. Good to know. This next one's all you, so I'll let you keep running.
Yeah, so we've talked about the API in the past, and we're real excited about it. It's probably the single most important thing we're working on at this point. We've had APIs in the past. They've all been, you have to set them up and configure them on a per store basis. And so we wanted to standardize that across all our customers. It's going to be a JSON API, name value pairs in, JSON out. Authentication is going to be handled through IP restrictions, then an access token that you'll pass with each request. And when we were looking at this, we already have a very robust API that the admin uses to communicate back to the server. So we're actually leveraging that same API that the admin uses, and we're building a bunch of more powerful tools related to pulling orders out and the stuff that an external API needs on top of it. And so it's going to be fully documented, and we're planning to launch this summer. So real excited about it. It's going to totally change how people integrate with Miva. So can't wait to get it out the door.
Yeah, API, it's funny. We've had APIs since most people, we were pioneer in the API space for e-commerce, and then It's nice though. We've watched public APIs come and go, right? I mean, you have SOAP, you have RESTful, you have JSON, and I think we're going to be served well for having done it right. So let's jump into Miva 10. So Miva 10, most of this will be covered at MivaCon. So I'm talking through high-level stuff with where we're going with Miva 10. So after 9.8 and the API, there will probably be a couple bug fix updates or little updates to the 9.x series, but really we're coming to the end of what we're planning on adding to the 9.x series. And one of the reasons it's time to switch numbers, it's not just that we're running out of sub-dot numbers, but it is, if you think about the iteration of and the evolution of e-commerce platforms across the board, Miva, other platforms, much of the last 10, 20 years has been spent adding features that started out at the top end and came down. So imagine something that Amazon had before that was inaccessible to an average merchant, or even things like Count that used to be so prohibitively expensive that only the largest merchants could get them. And now these things have been, you might say, democratized. Virtually any merchant can get these features. And the truth is that if you're selling 5 t-shirts, you can use an open source plugin for WordPress and really do almost all the same stuff you see on Amazon. And so e-commerce features have become standardized. Now there's devils in the detail on that. There is the ability to scale. There's the ability to actually build business processes. There's the ability to B2B and B2C and all the other stuff that we think makes us special. But really, from an architectural standpoint, Miva 10 is about going beyond e-commerce features and getting into other features about running your business. And so the first one is content management. So in a sense, Miva Merchant's always been a content management system, but not in the way that we think of content management systems today. Content management systems, when they first came about in the early 2000s, were something that web developers used to organize content so that you didn't have hundreds of HTML files. Well, those have evolved. Content management systems are now something that generally non-technical, non-web developer users are using to maintain and push content. And that's a fundamental paradigm shift in the market that we've seen over the last decade. And so we're really focused, I would say it's our biggest pillar, right, is making it so that that you, the non-technical store owner, can have a framework by which to add pages and content to your site without being slowed down by technical requirements. And really what we mean by that is this. Other platforms are great, not just platforms for e-commerce, what you see across the board. You know, go pick up a Wix style site. Those sites are easy, but the reason they're easy is it's like driving the cars at Autopia at Disneyland. You're on a very specific track and don't get off that track or really bad things happen to you. And our idea was to take that and say, what if we made a platform so that web developers could actually build custom tracks, so that your store and content management system could have a different track and doesn't look like all the same templates that everyone else's store looks like. And then once you have your track built, you can then go wild without having to use a web developer to add content. Do you want to add anything to that sort of concept?
I think you covered most of it. Maybe the one thing I would add would be, when we're talking about content, it's about us pages, policy pages, but also things like landing pages, like marketing landing pages, where if you're running a promotion for Black Friday and you want to spin up a landing page really quickly, we want to give you the tools to be able to do it without having to have a developer go and code a custom page.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly right. The idea is that the developer should set your walls, and then you're free to run within those walls. Think of it like Grand Theft Auto for e-commerce. This one is arguably the most standard e-commerce feature that we're adding, but this is still a very advanced feature that you're really only seeing in high-end enterprise platforms. And I'll let Brennan talk through most of this, but it's really about making it so that a marketing person can lay out their calendar and schedule the tasks that need to happen in the site, including previewing pages, testing pages, in either a Gantt chart or a calendar ahead of time, and then letting things unfold as they need to. So that if your Black Friday sale needs to go live at midnight, Thanksgiving to Black Friday, you don't necessarily need to be awake at a computer for it to happen. Although, like most things, if you're watching your business, you probably will be. But
yeah, we really focused on teams here. So it was companies that have more than one marketing person that's managing and coordinating these different campaigns. And so we want to make it as easy as possible to be able to say, okay, I want to launch this landing page. I want to turn on this promotion or this price group. I want to make this blog post go live. I want to make this product live or these products live. So a bunch of different actions you can do, all tied to this concept of an event, a date and time that something goes live, or it goes live and then it gets turned off at a different date and time. So a lot of really powerful stuff that's tied into the content management pieces. There's some overlap there.
And right now we're just talking about it at a high level, but we are actually, this is a good time for you to take a little step. Why don't you talk, this has been where we've spent the most process so far. Why don't you talk about the process we've done to get to where we are on this feature?
Yeah, so we always listen to customers. It's been a core part of how we build new stuff. Something we've done a little differently this time is we kind of have this brain trust of a group of people here that we're starting from with design and UI up front, and we're architecting these features from that standpoint, so that the UI to it is very, very polished. And in the past, we've really focused on functionality, and this will still focus on functionality. That's going to be the core of it. But there's going to be a really nice UI layer that I think is going to be different than anything that we've ever put out in the past.
Yeah, I mean, we are already many months into mockups and wireframes for this project and for this specific feature set, and we'll be digging into this in a much deeper way at MivaCon. So let's talk about dev stores, which is these things are all sort of interplay. One of the things is there'll be a staging environment. So right now, as if you're a current Miva customer, as you know, you have your store, and then you likely have a dev store, and that dev store can have whatever URL you want, and it's its own sandbox, and you do whatever you want. And that's great as far as not screwing up your real store, but then when it's time to actually make things go live, there's currently a lot of shuffling and process that has to happen, and it's slower and more painful than it needs to be. So do you want to talk through this part?
Yeah, we basically want to fix the dev to live process, and this is probably the feature that I'm most excited about from Miva 10. As a developer, I've gone through some of that pain of copying and pasting code from this store to this store, whether it's a full site redesign or if it's just a particular feature. We really want to add a layer that will help developers build stores faster, QA stores better, make the go live process much easier. And especially as you work with larger and larger customers who have teams of people that are working on sites, we need some structure around that whole process.
Sure, almost a source code management system, but made easy to use.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and then that actually, these two features are symbiotic for sure. Multi-domain is going to follow that same line of thinking. But at the end of the day, it's the ability to manage multiple stores from one admin. And so whether that's multiple stores as in the same root domain and different international stores, or whether that's actually totally different brands on top of the same product catalog, there'll be a lot of flexibility and power there for you to figure out how to apply that to your business. And that sounds easy, just add multiple stores to an admin, but going back to what you were talking about, once you have teams and once you have multiple stores, you have multiple people in the same set of data working, you need to build a lot of safeguards and make sure that people aren't stepping on each other's toes, otherwise you have really bad days.
And we support a mall concept, multiple stores within the same domain now, but there's no shared resources. So the big difference here is different domains and shared resources, like sharing products, sharing inventory across different stores. That's a big piece to a true multi-domain setup.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that if you do it right, it looks simple and awesome, and if you do it wrong, you destroy your business.
Yeah.
And then we're also, doing an ongoing evolution of the UI. I mean, this feeds into the content management system features as well as the events features. And what Brennan said, we're sort of leading UI UX first in our development process. And I want to be careful, I want to be very clear. We're not talking about this as we're leading pretty first. We are leading UI UX. Most of the UI UX we're working on is gray boxes or dark gray boxes, but it's really about click paths. And one of the things I personally want to solve is that Miva can do so many things that over the years there are often a lot of ways to do the same thing. And one of the paths that I have really encouraged the development team to take on here is there may be multiple paths to get to the same place, but I want to bring all those things back to one place. So you shouldn't change something in one place and realize, oh, I should have gone and changed it in these other two places. I really want to streamline the UI from that perspective. Anything you want to add?
Just we're going to try and hide stuff that makes sense to hide. So right now we present every option to you under the sun, and it can be daunting. So if it makes sense to make the UI cleaner and still give you the advanced options, but not present it to you initially, we're going to try and do that to make the overall UI a lot easier to use and more intuitive.
Sure, one example of that comes to mind too is like, think about printing an indicia label. You see all the customs options even if it's a US label, right? So that kind of stuff. All right, so let's talk about MivaCon. We've been sort of plugging MivaCon throughout this whole town hall. MivaCon is in San Diego. It is March 21st to 23rd. It is the longest running e-commerce, do we call it a conference, I guess, trade show? It's not really a trade show. It is the longest running e-commerce conference in the industry. We'll have 400 or 500 people there, and it is a fantastic, exciting, energetic, but most importantly, it's a meaty event where I am very, I personally take it as a charge that when we invite speakers to speak, that they're not there just selling. This is not a place where we sell sponsorships so people can, and then build an audience and then have a place for them to come pitch you on stuff. This is a place where we actively go to our customers who have succeeded and say, hey, do you want to come talk about how you got 15,000 subscriptions on your site? Great. Do you want to come talk about how you leveraged B2B on top of your B2C site? Great. And we bring in people who are succeeding, and it really is almost a mastermind style networking event on top of great industry speakers. And the reason we know that this model works is that the same people come back year after year after year. People wouldn't, I mean, San Diego's nice, but they wouldn't necessarily waste their money and time to fly out just to see us if we weren't doing a great job. If you've never been to MivaCon, you're missing out. This will make your business, if you apply what you learn there, your business will go farther. Anything you want to add about MivaCon?
No, it's great. You won't regret going.
This is just the stuff about it. Lots of speakers, lots of breakouts. We do have lots of consultants there, but really at the end of the day, it is a chance to network with peers who are succeeding. And in the world of e-commerce, when oftentimes there is no networking process. You're working either alone or with your own small team in your very specific silo, and this is a chance to break that silo. When does early bird pricing in on that? February 6th, 7th? So you've got 2 weeks left to get the really cheap tickets. The tickets are currently cheaper than the money we spend to buy you food there. So if that doesn't sell you that we're gonna have great food, come. Last but not least, on this, before we get in the Q&A, every year on the second night of MivaCon, we do the Blades Awards. This is a chance to highlight stores that have succeeded. We have 4 categories. And what is the website for the Blades Awards? MivaCon18.com. So go to MivaCon18.com, click the Blades Awards button. Nominations for this are still open until January 31st. And it's a chance to show off how you've succeeded, either for your own site or someone you think's done a great job. And with that, I'm going to hand us back to our ever-present moderator, Mr. Hansen.
All righty.
The voice of
Thank
God.
you, Rick. The talking head. So thank you guys so much for walking through that. A lot of great questions. Feel free to start posting some questions. I have a number that are jotted down, but please start throwing those comments in the throwing those questions in the comment box.
The chat box?
The chatty chat. So first question, we're just going to jump right into it with some no warm-up questions for you guys. This is a question around the API. So the question was, is this a replacement for the enterprise tools that you have today? And then secondly, will this be able to do actions and trigger add to cart? And so I guess maybe touch on this, what it's intended to enable.
Sure. So some of the foundational elements are based off the enterprise tools we have today. The enterprise tools are not going away. I think that we'll always have some need for them. If you're currently using enterprise tools for integration, it's not going to break or stop working. If in the future it made sense to rebuild that integration, you'd probably then switch over to the new APIs. But we're still going to maintain the enterprise tools that we have today. Kind of going on to the second question, I think you're kind of getting at, are there going to be webhooks, the ability to, when someone places an order, to automatically push data off to a third-party system. And the initial launch, it will not have that, but that's definitely on a roadmap. That will likely be sometime later that we'll add a second layer that you can tie into Miva actions, and based off some action that happens in Miva, go execute this, go send this data over here. So it's definitely coming.
Great, thank you. This next one is about ReadyThemes, and as there's all these new generation ReadyThemes coming out, for those that have implemented previous ReadyThemes, what does the transition look like? There's been some questions around, are they rolled out with the core software? So can you just explain a little bit about how someone would adopt a new theme?
Yeah, so the themes are, so we release updates to new themes, and those are kind of incremental changes. So we'll do either bug fixes or new features or tweak some stuff. The way we release those is it's up to you to go and we post the code changes, but it's up to you or your developer to go and grab those code changes and implement them on your site. If you're talking about if you're on the existing Savant Ready theme and you want to upgrade to a new Ready theme that's based off elements, you would typically do that during a site redesign. So if your site's a couple years old and you're looking to do a design refresh, that's the time that you would make that change, because it is a full template switch.
It'd be a lot easier with version 10 with the dev site.
So it's going to be 100% easier. We're going to think through that whole process of upgrading your site to that, what that looks like, and we'll make it as easy as we can.
Okay.
Great, thank you, Brennan. All right, Rick, this one's for you. Your favorite timeline. When are these updates and features going to be out? I think questions about 9.8 and Miva 10 and even just the Square inventory side of things. So can you just talk briefly about timeline and
Sure. It's like Fight Club. We don't talk about timelines. I can talk about what our expected timelines are, but I'm going to open with the caveat that we release software when it's ready to release. And I would rather not release software than break someone's store. So with that said, 9.8 is currently already in testing. 9.8 is done from a we're not, 9.8's not still on the drawing board. 9.8's been built. Square's testing it. Braintree's testing it. Chase is testing it. And so 9.8 is in what I would call the final throes. And I anticipate that it will be shipped before MivaCon. And if it's not shipped before MivaCon, that means we found something that slowed us down and we didn't want to screw up your store. But that's the plan. Version 10, I don't have a timeline. If you haven't figured out, though, I like to have things to say at MivaCon, so you can make some guesses about what I'm going to try to do for next MivaCon. And API is summer. What was the other one? ReadyThemes? That's a Brennan question.
Well, the Square,
Square.
The second phase of the Square integration, right. We are trying to get that out over summer. So our goal is to put that in with the API release over summer.
That was the reason that was not part of this first integration. Was Square actually was updating their own APIs, and so when we started this process with them, I don't even believe it was possible to do some of the things we wanted to do.
Yeah, I think the inventory API was still in development, and we chose to split it.
So,
great. In general, if aside from town halls and MivaCon, if folks have feedback or questions asking about features or feature enhancements, what's the best way for them to channel those? That feedback.
So the forums, which aren't the most exciting thing in the world, but the forums, I can't stress enough. And is it just miva.com/forums these days? Is that the URL? So miva.com/forums, FRUMS. We, and by we, I mean Brennan and I read virtually every single post that ever gets posted on the forums. And so, and the reason for that is it's a bit like watching the Matrix flow by. It is a direct line to how we're feeling. And I can tell you that internally, while we may not even reply to a Dream feature post, what happens is I read them. Sometimes they're super obvious. Sometimes I'm not even sure what the customer's going for. Maybe I'll send it to Brennan. I'll have Brennan reach out to the customer. Brennan and I will go back and forth. We'll have a discussion about how important this is, where we see this on our timeline. We'll bring in John Birchmore, our CTO, and there's a whole behind-the-scenes process that happens based on forum posts that there may be no public activity that shows you anything happened. So forum posts are absolutely a guaranteed way that we will look at it. Email, rwilson@miva.com. I mean, we're still doing Q&A, but I'll put this up so people can see it. But rwilson@miva.com. Even as we grow, even as we've served billions of dollars a year in GMV through our enterprise customers, what I've always when we started rebuilding Miva a decade ago, the idea was very specifically that we felt that most other e-commerce platforms didn't actually hook back into their own platform and use it, and therefore they were stuck trying to iterate based on focus groups and a 1 degree removed type of feedback loop. And so not only do we actively work on sites and work with people and work on sites, but Brennan and I spend a fair amount of our time talking to clients. And if something comes into me and you get a phone call from Brennan, or if you get a phone call from Joe or Philip or Anthony, almost certainly that started because it was an internal discussion and then someone was tasked with, hey, we need more information about this. So email and forums are great ways. We are actually brainstorming some other ways to come out in the community and do some stuff, but those ones are right now.
It's great. There have been a few questions around features. I know there's so many features coming out. I think there's been some confusion around what's coming out in 9.8. So can you quickly run down that list? And then also, is that already up on our website somewhere, or that'll be coming
I don't think
out
we have a
soon?
9.8 landing page.
I don't think we do.
But can you maybe just run down the list?
I'll just cover that real quick. 9.8's really, really simple. It's part finder or multi-value facets. It's the two facet updates. It's the Braintree count update. It's Square. It's some updates to Chase and some bug fixes and the subscription reminder email. So 9.8 that's actually still a lot of things. But 9.8 in our concept is a relatively small update as far as features go.
Great. Some very positive comments around multi-domain support, and obviously the new CMS is a huge undertaking. There's a question around the multi-domain support as it relates to a unified checkout process. If you've seen, there's a couple sites out there that have done that. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton to say on it. We're still kind of speccing that. We're going to be talking to a lot of different customers and get some use cases of does it make sense to do that. Some people may want it, some people may not want it. Some people want their two sites totally separate. Others may want a single unified checkout process. So, if it makes sense for us to do it, we'll likely do it.
So as always, the sky's the limit. Rick, another one for you, just as it relates to these new features and things. How much are things going to cost, or are there costs associated with new features, some of these new features or anything?
There's no price change on the horizon for the 9.x series, and 10's a long way off. I haven't thought about it. I would say this though. I feel that our current pricing model scales with our customers, and so therefore, if there's tweaks to it, it's going to be tweaks because of underlying cost or maybe a feature set that's normally a paid add-on feature set. And I don't want to go too far down that, because if I brainstorm right now on pricing, I'll cause a bunch of people to panic, and I'm not telegraphing anything. But as of now, there's no changes.
Great. I think that was a philosophical, how does our pricing model work? And
Yeah.
the reality is we're charging what we charge so that we can release features so steadily and keep.
Sure. I
evolving our
mean,
software.
here's sort of a philosophical answer. Let's say we invented an accounting system tomorrow, and we're not working on that at all. But let's say we invented an accounting system tomorrow. It would not be a normal thought to just include an accounting system in an e-commerce platform without charging for it. So that would that kind of feature set would adjust our pricing. Miva Pay is a great example of this. Miva Pay has its own distinct feature set, and we think the value is fantastic. You'll probably see us take a fairly stronger hand on Miva Pay this year, specifically because when the chip and PIN cards came out, or chip and EMV came out in the US, we have definitely seen a massive increase in attempted fraud. And so if you're not following best practices when it comes to security, if you're making all of your users admin users, if you're not using user groups to produce permissions, if you're not using two-factor authentication, if you basically do something really stupid and let a hacker get in and put some JavaScript on your site that lets them swipe credit card numbers from you, don't be surprised when you get an email from Papa Bear over here that you don't like. And that email is going to be, you can't use these kind of features anymore. You're going to Braintree or Square or Miva Pay. You've been handed a timeout from being able to touch credit cards because you've proven you can't handle it. So, I can't stress enough that if you don't understand security, hand it over to people who do. Sorry, I started with pricing and I went on a security tangent.
Good. Well, that's why we do this. This is great. Brennan, question about Miva Learn came out as it related to customer-focused or user or merchant-oriented training. How will that impact day-to-day store user?
So the majority of the content that's going to be there is going to be developer focused of how to build stores and kind of work in the technical side of it. So if there was a developer that wanted to go through and learn that content, that's fine too. If a store owner wanted to do that, but Miva Learn is really focused at developers wanting to build stores on Miva platform.
Okay, great. Question came up around vendor purchase orders. Is that something that's still on our radar?
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things. That's one of those things that sits in a weird spot, right? That's almost the accounting package question. So it's not an accounting package to do purchase orders. If you look at the rest of the market, StoneEdge did it. I think StoneEdge set in motion an expectation in the market of this is the kind of thing you do. But if you look at the rest of the e-commerce platforms out there and the rest of the order management and warehouse management systems, ShipStation doesn't do POs, Magento doesn't do POs. That doesn't mean you can't build plugins around it and that kind of stuff. So what we're aware of is that it's a need our customers have. And the need specifically is that the e-commerce system may be their master inventory, and it may be a great tool for triggering inventory replenishment and automating that system. And this is for really customers who are kind of sub-enterprise ERP. So if you're not yet going to use a NetSuite or a Sage or something like that, I get why those features are important. We've struggled figuring out exactly where they fit in our product roadmap, but it's on our radar.
Great. What about mobile or responsive admin panel and how it relates to managing the store on a mobile device?
We'll tackle that in version 10. Now, we're not going to arbitrarily do a responsive admin just for the sake of it. So if there's a screen that has no business being responsive, I wouldn't expect that. With that said, the steady march toward running everything we do in all of our lives via mobile devices first is not going to change. And there's different things, right? So do I see writing page templates on mobile devices anytime soon? That doesn't really strike me as accurate. Do I see doing customer service and order processing for mobile devices, or updating a price, or launching a product, especially when we have this events management system? Absolutely. So we'll work it out with part of version 10.
And that may lend its way to an actual native app too.
Absolutely.
Instead of, or in addition to making the admin responsive, you may get a better experience with a true native app.
Yeah, and there's different things, right? So like a native app would be great for product photography updates, for inventory updates, for customer service stuff. So there's, as the admin can do more and more things, it's plausible to imagine a world in which there's still an admin that does all those things, but there's little sub-tools for certain specific focuses.
Great. Okay, this next one's for me. It's actually, how are you so good? Wait a minute. So my personal question.
Chelsea's on Facebook.
Wow. They didn't even see me, and they know. Wow, they're asking how good looking I am. Okay. A couple more questions here. So if you have any last questions, go ahead and throw those in the comment box. This next one is about the Miva admin and just the layout and personalization, I guess, within the Miva admin. What's our take on that and making the backend interface more
flexible?
Yeah, more flexible.
Yeah, this has come up on the forums recently. I know there's some browser plugins, I think specifically for Chrome, but maybe for Chrome and Firefox, that allow you to control the CSS. So some people already do it. I think that's something we'll rethink for version 10. Whether we'll do it or not, I don't know. My concern with making an admin totally customizable is when you call support for that, and if you're not looking at the same thing your support rep's looking at, it's like trying to explain to a 4-year-old how to make a sandwich over a telephone. It's not going to work out real well. So, but those problems may be solvable. I mean, I understand what people are looking for. People are trying to control their workflow to run their business easier, and sometimes anything from changing font size to changing colors to changing layout can make a lot of difference in that. So we're super in tune with the fact that that is a requirement. How we accomplish that is to be determined.
Okay, great. Reporting. What's the, I guess, robust reporting or adding new reports or just our reporting in general? Can you guys talk about reporting?
It needs work. I mean, what's your current thinking on it?
Yeah, I would love to put it into Miva 10, but
it's not going to be in 10.0.
Yeah,
maybe in 10.1.
My guess at this point it's a little bit further out, but we definitely need to really look at our reporting and update it a bit. It got a kind of a refresh in 9.7 where it now supports HTML5 Canvas, so the graphs are prettier and a little bit nicer to use. But there's still I think there's still a fundamental disconnect of getting out the right data that you need. And sometimes you can get it, sometimes you can't get it, sometimes it's a little bit hard to figure out what you need.
Report.
Yeah, so we really want to. We don't want to piece it together and just kind of start adding stuff to it. We really want to take a step back, look at it, and all right, what do we really need to do to make reporting easier and better? Yeah, like I said, that'll likely be post Miva 10.
Yeah, but I would also expect that to be during the Miva 10 lifecycle, not some
Great.
way off thing.
Great. There were some questions about WMSs and different systems on the back end, and this was around the time we were talking about the API. Can you talk a little bit about the API and how that might impact the kind of integration partners or technology partner ecosystem?
Yeah, so if they don't currently have an integration with Miva, the API is going to make it much, much easier. Right now, they have to work with us directly, and we configure the APIs for them on a per-client basis. With the new APIs that are coming, they can do an integration essentially without our consulting, and it'll be available to every single Miva customer just by putting in an API key. So the amount of integrations that you're going to see in our ecosystem is going to grow quite a bit, and it's going to be easier for third-party, whether they're a OMS, a WMS, whatever it is, to push and pull data from Miva.
A couple things I'll add philosophically to that. It's funny. Miva arguably had the first e-commerce ecosystem built around it in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then we've certainly not focused on that as much the last 5 to 10 years, and that is a philosophical priority for us. So the APIs are the first step in that. The thing about ecosystems is this: it's one thing to have hundreds of plugins or thousands of apps or whatever, but if they don't play well together and they break everything, they look good on paper and and then they make your life miserable. So we want both. We want a thriving, healthy ecosystem on a platform that doesn't break.
Great.
I feel like I should look at the camera, but I keep wanting to.
I know.
I have no idea how this looks.
So I think we'll do maybe 2 or 3 more questions. This first one is about the docs and just the existing documentation, some of it going back to just previous admin interfaces on Miva. Are we doing any kind of cleanup? And there was a question about going to a more user interactive wiki style. But can you just speak to how documentation, especially on docs, will evolve?
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly iterating, adding to it. There's a few different versions of it. We have the reference guide, which is a 800-page PDF that we spent 9 months converting to HTML to make it searchable. So that should be with the latest admin UI. I mean, maybe not the latest, but for the most part, it's a version 9 UI of how to do different things. And we continue to iterate and add new stuff to that as we release new features. And then we also have what we call how-to guides. So every time we release a 9.8, Miva 10, we do a whole new series of here's how to configure and set up this feature. And that's separate from the reference guide, so there's a little bit of overlap. But yeah, I mean, if there's suggestions or recommendations of, if that's not working or if there's things that would be easier, we're totally open to tweaking things. We want to make the docs as useful as possible for the end users.
Yeah, and if there's a popular document out there that's still got a 5.5 or older admin, someone email Brennan and I. There's a lot of moving parts in our world, and so every once in a while we stumble into something that we're just not aware of.
Great. There were a couple questions around specific types of integrations or different systems. One was about a referral system like smile.io. So I think I'll just address that and say the philosophical point Brennan and Rick were both touching on is that the API makes it easier to interact with those third parties, and there really isn't a limit of, yes, you can work with this one, no, you can't work with that one. So obviously we like to hear about those different ones, and we like knowing what's beneficial to our customers, and we like building the ecosystem based on what works and what's actually driving value for our customers, not who just seems like they've got a flash in the pan cool idea. So we just want to address that one real quick. One-page checkout, any thoughts? Is that going to be a feature, something off the shelf? There were, the one-page checkout question has come up.
It's like Freddy Krueger. To me, look, I could go on a soapbox about this one, so I'll try to keep it short. To me, there's a trend away from one-page checkouts. You see way less of them today than you did 5 or 10 years ago. Simplified checkout, sure, and we do that in the ReadyThemes. I think 2-page checkouts, things like Apple Pay, those things are great. Our checkout flow, though, is going to, the root technology is going to be there so that you can route the river the way you need to route it for your business. And then we use ReadyThemes to give you optimized checkouts for business to consumer or business to business or hybrid. But the thing people don't get about one-page checkouts is that a poorly implemented one-page checkout will destroy your conversions. Yes, JavaScript's ubiquitous, so JavaScript works, but making extra API calls when you're on these pages, especially if they're poorly designed. Is Steven Solon here right now? I know he's not going to come on camera because it'd probably freak him out. But I could have our developer who drives the one-page checkout stuff for us just regale you with horror stories of them for an hour, and not just Miva related, just in general. And so, do I think one-page checkout will ever be the default plug-in Miva from the box and that's how it works? No, because I think one-page checkouts suck.
Great. All right, last question, and then you can wrap it up. There's a question about PayPal and just the balance of, hey, we're talking about some of these other things and Miva Pay. And actually, I'm so glad they asked this question. Oftentimes there's a disconnect of what Miva Pay is as a processor, and so maybe if you can clarify Miva Pay.
Sure.
And then.
So Miva Pay is not a processor. So and Miva Pay in the back of my mind has been something that maybe I should rename it because I feel like I sort of blew the name thing. But Miva Pay is not a processor. Miva Pay is a middleware that plugs into the native payment gateways within Miva Merchant. So it works with PayPal. It works with Braintree. It works with Authnet. It works with Chase. It works with CyberSource, et cetera, et cetera. It does only work with the gateways we build. There are a couple exceptions if there's some API restrictions or whatever. But for the most part, it plugs on. It sits on top of our gateways, and so that way you don't have to go get new credentials. You don't have to go set up a token engine at somewhere else. And the main reasons to use Miva Pay are it takes you out of scope for PCI. It makes it so that someone can't, use malicious JavaScript to harvest credit card numbers. It enables subscriptions. It enables a full wallet. It enables, although this requires a little bit of custom coding right now, it enables a one-click style checkout a la Amazon, especially now their patent's over. So Miva Pay really is a series of features and functionality that are enabled by having a wallet and a token system on your site. And it's processor agnostic. PayPal is our premier payment gateway processor. So we, by far and away, our largest segment of clients use one of the various PayPal products. And I'm a fan of Braintree. I'm a fan of Express Checkout. I think they enable global e-commerce in a way that other people still don't quite have nailed. So PayPal's great. I don't know. Does that answer the question, I think? Okay. Okay. So, hey, thanks everyone for attending. I hope this was useful to you. If you have any feedback, I don't know what you can see right now. So it's rwilson@miva.com or bheyde, BHEYDE @miva.com. If you want to email Brennan or I. Come to MivaCon. MivaCon is going to be an exceptional event. It is almost exactly 2 months away here in San Diego. And then we will do another one of these in late summer, early fall, probably right around the API release. So thanks again for attending. Hope you all have a great day.